who was going through Jerusalem. This is a representation of him going through Jerusalem. And he's going to the cross and die for our sins. So we take this very seriously. But I don't have to wonder to myself, like, what actually happened to Easter? Like, what Easter used to be a holiday, which we used to celebrate. And we used to be excited about it, man. When you were a kid, man, you had your Easter egg hunts and you had your Sunday's best, and you hung out with your friends and you went out to the park to the picnic and stuff like that. But now it seems all of a sudden like at least Easter is kind of a lost art. It's like one of those holidays that, kind of loses and is kind of devalued. I mean, of course, everybody still goes to church and Easter eggs are being sold at an all-time high. But when it comes to just people just understanding like the entire meaning of Easter, I just feel like it's a lost art. And it's very discouraging because I mean, they're just so. Easter is a holiday to me that speaks to the imagination of not only kids, but adults as well. And I'm not saying, with kids, they think about the Easter bunny, but when you're an adult, you think about Jesus dying for you. You know what I mean? You think about the resurrection. I'm talking about for those that are Christians. I'm speaking to you all now. But you start thinking about that and visualizing that, man. And you're like, wow, somebody loved me so much that I was. He willing to lay down his life for me, and we can imagine these things in our heads. But as for me, I can imagine him, and some of the things that he had to go through. And I ain't need movies like Passion of the Christ or Jesus of Nazareth to tell me about some of these things. I mean, I can just kind of create those things in my mind, man. And it's real, man, it's real personal to me. And I just feel like a lot of people just kind of lose that. Like they just don't get it. They just don't grasp it. Yeah, they get those new suits. Yeah, they get those new dresses and they go to the church, but they don't really understand what's really going on. And that, to me, I just feel like back in the day, like we really understood that stuff. We had Easter programs at church and we read poems and we did all kind of things, man. And now it's like, Easter, we go in church, we sit down, we don't care. It's just Easter and we show up. So I think that we need to get back to the basics. You know what I mean? Like really get back to the basics of what Easter is all about. Rather it be, spending time with your family if you're not a Christian, to going to those Easter egg hunts and stuff like that. I really don't see that kind of stuff no more, and from a church standpoint, I really don't see the love and the connection of man to the Lord. You know what I mean? So let's kind of go back to that, people. Let's go back to the way that it was. Y'all know, man, back in the day. All right. Moving on, I don't want to preach to everybody or nothing like that. I don't want to preach to y'all tonight. I just want to keep it real. I keep it 100 here on The Real Show. And I'm just real excited because I got a lot of people that I know that are listening for the very first time. Before we move forward, I want to talk a little bit about some of the new things that I decided to do. A lot of people don't realize this, but I am a minister now. I got my license to preach the gospel in January. So, I've really been going through this transition. I'm a real big hip hop lover, man. I love rap music. I love R&B. I love all that kind of stuff, man. But there's a lot of stuff that I can do without. That's the reason why if you go back through the archives of The Real Show and TJ's Nitty Gritty, you might see me dropping some F-bombs. You might see me saying the S word, the B words, some of those forbidden words. But I cleaned that up. The music that I used to play used to have profanity in it. I don't have profanity anymore. But I also realized that some of the stuff that I've been talking about on the radio, it just don't seem like it really encourages people. And I just want to do that. I want to encourage people, man. I don't want to tear nobody down. Like last show I did, I was talking about Karuchi You know, I mean, I went into this whole spiel about, you know, her and Chris Brown. I mean, I wish Karrueche the best. I seen an interview, you know, on her own network. You know, it just seems like to me like she just a girl that's kind of lost or whatever like that. You know, when it comes to relationships, she made a lot of mistakes. But I mean, I hope that she gets it together, because I don't want to see nobody going through those type of things. You know, I know how I feel to be hurt in a relationship. I know how I feel, you know, to break up with somebody, you know, and you feel like, you know, you're never going to find that right person. I mean, I understand how that goes. So I wish that girl nothing but the best. I want to do shows that encourage people. And I also want to do shows that actually make people think about some stuff, which we're going to go forward in the show. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I heard last week that really had me really hurting, man. It honestly had me hurting, but without further ado, I need some theme music, so let's go. Check this out, yo. So, I was watching the news last week, and for those that don't know, I reside in Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is about 40 miles from the capital of Mississippi, which is Jackson. And in Jackson, there was a church called Galilean Baptist Church. And at this church, well, there was a dispute. That's what we'll call it. But instead of me telling you about it, why not let you hear it? Check this out.
God is not author of confusion.
Worship services at New Galilean Church did not take place as normal Sunday morning. The members fighting and yelling over the current pastor. Things getting so heated, the police were called to get control of the situation.
This man was money hungry. He was after money because he came in spending money ridiculously. He was a manipulator. He was cunning.
Members say the current pastor took over the job when the previous pastor died. Some were unsure about him having the job from the beginning.
He built a church. He paid this church off. And you're going to let a Johnny come late to come in here and tear it up? When he was voting.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was a member of the Galilean Church in Jackson, Mississippi. In Jackson, Mississippi, this guy, you know, along with a couple more people of the congregation, they didn't like the way the pastor was running the church. They felt like he was about finance. They felt as if, you know, he was bringing the church in a direction where they didn't want to go. Really had me discouraged, man. Like, honestly, like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, man, you can't be serious. I mean, you're arguing with the members of your church, and you're arguing so much that the police had to get involved. I mean, think about that, people. You go to church on Sundays, and you go to church in order for you to sit down and hear the word and get that word of encouragement to get you through the week, right? But you can't do that because the members of the church are arguing. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I told a lot of people about this story, a lot of people that I work with, but it's still been on my heart, man. I mean, I was just upset. I was like, man, I can't believe that church folk be acting like this. Somebody responded to me, they said that's the reason I don't go to church. But I mean, I'm thinking in my head, I mean, I attend church. I go to church every Sunday. I feel like my church isn't like that. But one church that acts this way is a representation of all churches. It's almost like one of those situations where your mom punishes you because your brother did something. It's almost like the good have to suffer for the bad. So that's how it is in the church. You might have a positive church over here. You might have a church with a hidden agenda over there. If the church with the hidden agenda over there gets caught, and the church over here that you go to might be looked upon as a disgrace, or is one of those churches that all they want is money. And it's just crazy, man. Like, how can you say that you're of God and you have a church full of people that's saved and y'all behave like this? And I thought to myself, I said, man, okay, you know, we know how it is. We're all human. Sometimes we don't get along. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes we just don't see eye to eye, right? So I'm thinking, okay, man, it's fine, right? And then I fool around, and then I hear this.
Members of New Galilee Church in Jackson arrived to their place of worship Sunday morning to find the gates were locked.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they lock down the church. So this happened all in a 2-week span, okay? Last week, they were arguing at the church. This week, they locked the church. They put chains on the church. All because these people didn't get along. Now, it is just quizzical to me. Why even have church? I mean, let's be honest. Galilee, why even have church? If politics rules the day at your church, why even have it? Because honestly, the whole city of Jackson saw that. And you know what they're going to be thinking when somebody try to find a church home? Well, they're going to be thinking, man, I ain't going over there Galilean, man. Shoot, they threw their past out. Man, they threw them out on the street. You might as well close your doors, Galilean church, because nobody is going to take that church serious. Nobody is going to come to that church and be like, man, I found my church home, because y'all already showed your hand. Y'all showed what y'all was about, and y'all embarrassed the church in the process. That's what bothers me. Y'all didn't just do it to your church. You did it to every other church. I seen comments where people talking about, yeah, that's why I don't go to church. Yeah, that church, I probably, they'd be asking me to come to church. They probably like that too. You don't just represent yourself. You represent a whole entire community. You represent a whole state. You represent a whole country. I was riding with my grandfather last night. We was going to a convention, a church convention, and my grandfather, he's a minister. He's a pastor of our church, and he made a very interesting point. He said that a pastor can do something way in California, and I can feel the effects down here. We as a church can feel the effects down here. It's not just that pastor in California. It's everywhere. It's a trickling effect. You know, people don't want to come to church as is. Don't give them excuses not to come. Locking the doors of the church. Why? Does it really get that serious? If you don't want the guy in there, you already got him out of there. So why lock the doors of your church? I mean, Galilean is a pretty decent sized church. So I can assume that, they probably got more than one minister there to preach. So why lock the doors of the church? That was just embarrassing, man. That was 100% embarrassing. I'm embarrassed as a Christian. I'm embarrassed as somebody that's saved. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm a part of the church today because this situation right here. Now, I'm not embarrassed and ashamed of my Lord. I'm just embarrassed and ashamed of the church. And those people that's over there on 3830 Flag Chapel Road, yeah, I'm giving the address. Flag 3830 Flag Chapel Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Y'all need to get it together, man, because y'all making a Baptist church look bad. Horrible. So get it together. Y'all need to pray together, hold hands. And we need to find solutions to these problems. Not get authorities involved. Are y'all kidding me? Y'all got the news over there? Like, who's gonna take y'all church serious? Honest, who's gonna take Galilean church serious? Please, somebody tell me. I'll wait. Nobody's gonna take it serious. So get it together, Galilean, because you're making the whole entire church at large look just embarrassed. This is The Real Show on Spreaker.com. It's your boy TJ in the Dreadhead Production Studios with you all tonight. If you just joined us, we just wrapped up a segment about the Galilean Church that's located in Jackson, Mississippi. There was a dispute to throw the pastor out of the church, and it spilled out into the parking lot, and police had to get called, and news coverage was on the scene. It's just embarrassing. Man, we're going to move on from this, man. We're going to talk about beauty. That's what we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about beauty and the price of it, Okay? There are some beautiful women in this world. I know, because I'm engaged to one. Man, my fiance to me is the most beautiful woman I ever seen in my life. She's a wonderful person. And they got so many other beautiful women out here in this world. But what I don't understand is, why do so many people don't like the way they look? I mean,